Hey guys, welcome to my videos on solving quadratics. At school, there's four main methods that we'll look at for solving quadratics. The first is graphically, factorizing, completing the square, and then a quadratic formula. So yeah, we'll quickly go over graphically. So a key idea I want you to understand is when we solve quadratic equations, we're pretty much just looking for where the x-intercepts are. So just say if this was our graph and it cut at 3 and -3, then the solutions to this would have been x equals -3 and 3. So if our graph looked like this and it only cut once, that means the solution is x equals -7. If our parabola looked like this, you can see there's no x-intercepts at all. So in this case, there's no solution. So I just want you guys to keep in mind that whenever we're solving quadratic equations, we're pretty much looking for where the x-intercepts are if we do it graphically. The next technique I want to brush over is factorizing. We won't spend too much time on this because we had a whole video series on factorizing. So the key idea is that when two things times to give 0, one of them has to be 0. So just say if I had a simple one, x plus 6. So we factorize out our question. We got x plus 6 and x minus 4 equals 0. We can split that up to x plus 6 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. So then this gives us two solutions, x equals -6 and x equals 4. So yeah, so on this example I've given you here, it's pretty much all normal factorizing, and then it gets to the end where you have to split it up into two separate bits, and then that's when you solve it separately to find the x-intercepts. Alright, so now we're going to spend more time looking at the next technique, which is completing the square, because this is totally new. So if you remember, our perfect squares are, if it's x minus a all squared, then it's x squared minus 2ax plus a squared. So remember that middle bit has to have that too. Alright, so when we complete the square, we want to add b over 2 all squared to the end. So just say this one. Remember our a in this. Remember this is only for monic quadratic equations. So if it's x squared plus 16x, that means 16 is our b. So we add b squared over 2. So 16 over 2 all squared if we want to complete the square. And then this just simplifies to, so it's always going to be x here. And then, so it's whatever's in here. So 16 over 2, this simplifies nicely, and that gives us positive 8. So we're just going to put plus 8 all squared. So that's what we'd get if we complete the square. So the next one, same thing. So we have to add b over 2 all squared. But in this case, b is -3. So just -3 over 2 all squared. And you can see this doesn't simplify nicely. So if we want to complete the square with it, it just becomes x. And then since this doesn't simplify, make sure we keep the negative. It's just -3 over 2 all squared. So yeah, you guys just try the next one. So next we're going to use completing the square to actually solve quadratic equations now. So remember, key idea in equations is it has to be balanced. So we do something to one side, we got to do it to the other. So this first one, t squared plus 8t. If we want to complete the square here, we do it exactly the same way. So I like to just write it out. And now since we have to add b over 2 all squared to both sides, we do it now. So we add 8 over 2 all squared to that side, and now we do it to this side as well. So then that means the left hand side just becomes t, and then 8 over 2 simplifies nicely, so plus 4 all squared. Then the right hand side, you can just do it in your calculator, and that'll end up to 36 in this case. And now it's just a matter of solving as normal. So just do opposites until we get the letter by itself. So if we want to get rid of the square, we square root both sides. So we get t plus 4. So remember, key thing is when you square root, you get a positive and negative answer. So it'll be plus or minus root 36. And now I'm going to bring the 4 over. So t equals negative 4. And then plus or minus 6, because that simplifies to 6. So that means we get our two answers. So we do negative 4 plus 6, which gives us 2, and negative 4 minus 6, which gives us negative 10. Alright, so the next one, we have that 1 there. So what I like to do is I just like to move it to the other side, just to give us room. So I like to write x squared minus x. And I like to leave the gap, so where we have to complete the square. And if we move that negative 1 over, it's just going to be 1. So now we do it as normal. So we're just going to complete the square. So we add b over 2 to both sides. So in this case, it's negative 1 over 2, all squared. And then this just becomes, if you complete the square, x minus a half all squared. Then you can do the right hand side on your calculator if you want, or you can do it in your head, and you get 5 over 4. And then yeah, now it's just before, just solve it. So square root both sides, you get x minus a half equals plus or minus the square root of 5 over 4. So now we bring that half over. Then the square root 5 doesn't simplify, so we just leave it as square root 5 on top. But then we know that 4, square root of 4 is just 2. So yeah, if they wanted us to leave this in exact form, I'd put 1 plus or minus root 5 all over 2. But yeah, remember, they can ask you for decimal, so make sure you read the question. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys try the next two. But just as a hint for that last one, you'll need to divide through everything by 3 first, just to make it monic. So yeah, you guys can try that now, and I'll put the answers up for you.